You join us today as we dive into Covert Ops, Danger in Paradise. As we find out more on what inspired and the writing process with the author Steve Barker to write his first novel. Before I ask you any questions, Steve, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy writing schedule to be with us here today.
Oh, thank you for such a good introduction, Lisa. I'm very pleased to be here. No problem at all taking time out of my writing schedule. Gives me a nice break. Hopefully I'll be able to answer all your questions and give the readers a big insight on how the book was written.
Tell us a little about yourself and your background. When did you first get the idea to become an author? And has writing always been a big part of your life?
I was born in 1962 in Farnham, Hampshire in England. I lived in several places before moving to Southampton near the south coast before I joined the British Army. I left school in 1979 and then with a month I joined the Royal Green Jackets in Winchester. Then after completing my training I joined 3 RGJ in Cambridge. I continued to serve in the army until 1989, during which I saw service in Cyprus, Germany, Ireland, Falklands, Canada and of course the UK. Then in 2017, after many years of suffering, I was diagnosed with military chronic PTSD. This was caused by 3 life-threatening events during my service. During my recovery at combat stress, somebody suggested I begin writing as part of my therapy, as they had read some of my work I had completed at the centre. It wasn't until the lockdown in March 2020 that I decided to write my first novel, Covert Ops, Danger in Paradise. Becoming a full-time author had not crossed my mind until I wrote Danger in Paradise and received positive feedback from people I'd sent the PDF copies to read. I think this was the turning point where I decided I could become a full-time author.
Your most recent novel is Danger in Paradise, the first in a series of Covert Ops. Tell us about the book, what can readers expect, and what inspired you to tell this particular story?
The title of the series came from an excellent friend of mine. Until then, I hadn't considered writing more than one book. When it came to the storyline, being a novice and not understanding much about research and other aspects of storytelling, I just started writing, and the plot developed as I wrote. Why this particular story? Well, they say write about what you know. Danger in Paradise uses my experience in the military as a backdrop to the story. The novel is a military thriller that tells the story of 3 ordinary veterans who take on a mission in the Caribbean islands. We discover their strengths, their weaknesses, and the skills that make them who they are during the journey. Hypervigilance and distrust of others are both conditions of PTSD, which come in very handy, as we learn not everybody can be trusted. Danger in Paradise would lead you in one direction, only discover you've gone down the wrong path, and some characters are not what they seem.
Where did the setting and plot ideas come from?
I love cruising and I've been to many different Caribbean islands, so it was easy to picture the island setting. The 2 islands that feature in the book are both fictional. St. Bethany is named after one of my daughters, Bethany. St. Halb is the first word. Halb is German for half, as the island is in 2 halves, plus the letters make up names of family members. I think I based Henry's place, the location of the drug gang, and the place of the final mission, on a coffee plantation I once went to in Colombia. The other locations, even though fictional, are based on locations around the world which I visited. As for the plot, most of this came as I was writing, with a storyline dictating each chapter's setting as it progressed. Each character had their own particular skills, which I've tried to incorporating into part of the story. For example, Steve, who has skills in making IEDs, which is put to practical use.
Tell us more about the characters in Danger in Paradise, Steve. These 3 veterans all share forms of PTSD. How tough was it to find different perspectives from which to approach that character trait in 3 different people? And how do they play off of each other?
First, let's start with the main character, Steve, as he's an easy one. All his issues, skills and knowledge are based on me, and therefore easy to write. There are 2 other main characters in Danger in Paradise, Simon and George, and both are based on friends of mine. In chapter 1, Part of the storyline mentioned we met in a facility called Combat Stress. Now, this is a charity that looks after veterans who suffer from PTSD and other mental health issues. This part is true. I met both of these friends while undergoing treatment for several weeks. As you could imagine, we spent hours in conversation about our military experience and the individual issues that affected each of us. Therefore, writing about their skills and PTSD was easy. Both were sent chapters along the way so I could get their opinion on both the story and the characters. I used my own 10-year army experience along with advice from Simon and George in how each of the individual observation posts OPs played out. Simon was in fact a tank commander and was able to use his vast knowledge carrying out vehicle reconnaissance. We discover Henry's place is protected by guard dogs, and George's experience as an army dog handler provided invaluable here. One great aspect of military veterans and serving personnel is we all tend to share the safe long attributes of humour, friendship and the way we look at life. This made playing the main character off one another is easy task to handle. The only tricky part was carrying out 3 OPs in different manners, but they're all technically correct. An easy way to put your minds in the frame of the military is through a poem which I wrote myself called The Unspoken Word, and it's from poetry from the PTSD mind, which I'll put a plug in here. You can actually buy that online. Here's the poem then. If for Queen and country you've served, this invincible bond you will find there for all to see, unless for country not serve, the passing of time or the setting of the sun can't break this our unspoken bond. Regiments of the past cast aside, rank but a name. It cares not for age nor for gender, cares not your place of birth or when you served, only cares you served. When all seems lost, days too hard to handle, military banter few understand, fill the air, sometimes harsh, sometimes gentle. Our calming bond, a helping hand is offered. With envious eyes many start to look, our unspoken, never failing, invisible bond, an unseen power that's always there in the time of need. When many try to break this bond we share, none succeed. A hidden comfort words can't describe. Now I hope you actually like that poem, because if you buy it, I donate 20% of the profits to Combat Stress. So buy the book, you'll enjoy it, but you're also helping out a fantastic cause.
How long were you working on the novel before deciding it was fully finished? Can you please tell us, Steve, what was the path to publication like for you? Are there any potential pitfalls you think it would be helpful for others to know of when considering their own novel?
I actually found writing the first draft of Danger in Paradise the easy part. I started putting pen to paper when the country was locked down in March 2020. I'd completed the first 75,000 word draft by the beginning of July. It's the hard work that comes afterwards which is definitely the hard part. As I was learning as I went, I discovered that I would need a tagline, blurb and synopsis, never mind a professional submission letter to be published. I was busy editing and had no idea how to write any of these, so I decided the best way was to find a professional who did know how to write these, which left me to concentrate on publishing my work. Like most budding authors, sent off my work to many of these literary agents and publishers with no luck. I was about to give up and self-publish when a friend of mine introduced me to Lisa at Green Cat Books, a small publisher. Then after a couple of edits, the book was ready and was finally published in December 2020.
You say you autocrit as part of the editing process. Where does fit into your publishing process? And how do you think being a member of the platform has influenced or strengthened your writing?
Now what can you say about autocrit apart from amazing? As I've said, I'm new to writing and I've no idea there were so many rules to good writing. I had no idea about showing verse telling, cliches, generic description and repeated words. Never mind adverbs and dialogue. I must have run my work through autocorrect hundreds of times, but I was happy to call it finished. Apart from the publisher's edit, that is. Of course, they will always change things. One of the indispensable parts of being a member of autocorrect is Deep Dive Live, webinars run by Beth and Kevin. They're full of useful tips and advice. So if you're a member of autocorrect, make time for these to your benefit. I genuinely believe my work would have not been published today if I had not found autocorrect online. This has to be far the best software for any budding writer.
What's next for you?
As we know, Covert Ops is the name of a series of books I plan writing, and the second one, Covert Ops, Danger on the Island, is underway and will be published this year. This team, we see our trio embark on a mission to recover stolen military weapons from a site on the Isle of Wight, a place where I now reside. Besides Steve, Simon and George, you may see other characters from Danger in Paradise put in an appearance.
Before we finish, Steve, I would like to say a big thank you for taking part in this interview and taking time out of your writing. I wish all the best with Covert Ops, Danger in Paradise, and of course Danger on the Island when it's published. I have read the first novel, and if you're into the military thriller genre, this book is a must. Once again, thank you.
You're very welcome, Lisa. Hopefully now the people watching this and readers get a full understanding of how and why I wrote Covert Ops, Danger in Paradise, and what goes behind writing a successful novel. We included the parts about the PTSD to give people an insight of how it may affect different people. So I hope you enjoyed the interview and you got the most out of it. All you need to do now is go and buy the book. Thank you very much for listening.